So, in case you hadn't realised, I recently hit 200 subscribers, which I can't thank a single one of you enough for. It means a huge amount to see that number on my subscriber count. Anyway, I thought long and hard about what to do for a 200 subscriber special, and I was thinking Q&A, but then I realised that was a bad idea and I didn't get enough questions. So instead, I thought I would showcase this, which is my personal proudest ever piston door. It is a 5x5 circle piston door that measures 13 by 7 by 12 at 1092 blocks, and actually we've got glowing signs now, haven't we? I can light that thing up rather than making it really dull and boring and uninteresting. There we go. How cool is that? I absolutely love the way that looks. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So this is a 5x5 circle, and it closes in 1.1 seconds, which is not bad. You know, the fastest possible closing would be 0.6. So 1.1 isn't too far off. I'm quite happy with that. However, the opening is where it's at. The opening is the interesting part, because it opens in just 2.2 seconds, which is not the fastest possible by any means. The fastest possible will probably be about 1.6 seconds, but still 2.2 seconds. Let's take a look. 3, 2, 1. How about that? I absolutely love watching that work. It's got the single best animation of any of my piston doors I've made across the years. Across 6 years of playing, this is definitely my best opening animation. And yeah, it only fits in 1092 blocks of volume, which is incredibly impressive. I never thought I'd be able to do that. Of course, to make a door of this complexity, you need a pretty interesting layout, and if I do say so myself, I think I have done just that. So it's got a triple piston extender on the top, which pushes down. Triple piston extenders are, kind of hard to wire if you don't have a lot of practice doing them. So that was certainly interesting. The bottom circuit is even more complicated though, because the bottom circuit has to handle 3 blocks as opposed to 2 on the top. So I'll just go through and explain the layout, which I've extracted here. I've taken away all of the wiring and I've just left the layout in its entirety, and I'll show you exactly how that works. So first of all, I'll show you the hipsters on the side. Now, hipsters are pretty standard of a door of this speed, because the max speed hipster of this layout, I guess, is 2.2 seconds, funnily enough. And you can fit surprisingly a lot in 2.2 seconds, even if that means making a really smart layout for it. Anyway, so the closing is really, really quick, because all you need to do is push these redstone blocks across, and then as you can see, that leaves 2 door blocks in front of these pistons. So all you then need to do is extend these back pistons, and it pushes these 2 blocks to the left and close it all up. So technically speaking, this whole door, the whole hipster rather, closes in 0.6 from the movement of the redstone blocks, because this is going to be 0.2. The redstone blocks move across to 0.2. The back pistons extending is another 0.2, and then these pistons extending at the front is another 0.2, 0.6 in total. But technically speaking, because these redstone blocks are behind the wall, you can get away with calling it 0.4, which is the max speed closing. Now, the opening is a little bit more complicated, obviously, because you have a lot more to do. That generally is the case for a lot of piston doors. The opening tends to be more complicated than the closing. But what has to happen first is these redstone blocks have to retract, and that will mean that these pistons also retract. Then these back pistons retract like this, and then these pistons extend and retract. So that's a double piston retraction. And what can happen now is these pistons extend, and what that primes is then another double piston extender that can take these blocks back in line with the hallway. So these ones extend, and then we have to update these observers, and as you'll see, that will pull those blocks back in line like this. And then these back pistons can retract, and then these pistons will extend and retract. And this will be done with an observer slider rather than breaking the blocks and replacing them, because that's clearly not how we do it. Yeah, there's a lot of sliders involved, and actually you can see these pistons up at the top here and pistons down at the bottom, which in order to update or send power to the pistons appropriately, I just move up and then back down again. Really, really straightforward. So those are the hipsters, and just keep those in mind. These take care of themselves. I'll try my best to explain the top and the bottom circuit now, which is far more complicated and required far more dedication. So first things first, for the closing, is I extend this across. Now I don't have to do it with slider up at the top, but the slider is much, much easier than making a big pulse extender using locked repeaters or hopper timers or whatever. So I chose to do a slider, but there are multiple options that achieve the same thing. So I pushed that across, and that pushed everything down like this, and then I can extend this piston, then extend this sticky piston like this, and that can retract. So that can be on a pulse, and then this observer can extend over. Nothing happens thanks to this observer just yet. This is going to be useful in the opening, which is priming everything ready for a very speedy opening sequence. Now at the bottom, we obviously need to take care of 3 blocks in the middle as opposed to 2 up at the top. And this bottom circuit I designed myself, which I'm extremely proud of. So first of all, this piston extends, and then this piston extends, and then this bottom one pulses up like that, this one extends over, and then it pulses again. So as you can see, that takes the blocks from the hallway and puts 3 of them up like that. It's a sort of hipster fashion, I guess. And then this one extends over. Now you will notice that this looks exactly like a double piston extender, and you're quite right, it is a double piston extender, but it doesn't fire as such until the openings. We can just, I'll just keep that there for the minute. And then of course these pistons can extend. And as you see, that will leave gaps for the hipsters at the sides. Now for the opening, assuming that the hipsters are taking care of themselves, this sticky piston retracts, and then this piston extends over, or pulses rather, and then this sticky piston extends, and this sticky piston extends at the same time, which will pulse that sticky piston, and as you can see, that moves a huge amount of blocks down at the bottom, and then that just retracts, and you best believe that this double piston extender is just to bring this block back in line with the hallway. Then this one retracts, and then this one extends and retracts. Meanwhile, you can be firing this up here, which completely retracts the double piston extender. I'll leave that extended for the minute. Now for the bottom, this one extends like that, and then this one extends and retracts at a similar sort of time, which then allows just a double piston retraction here, and just like that, the door can be completely open. And you will notice in this original door, I synced all of the piston movements, particularly the last ones. So when it opens, see that all happens, and then all of the last piston movements are synced. Now it doesn't really matter if all of the last piston movements are synced, because as long as it opens in the correct time, it's perfectly fine. But I like to, if possible, sync all of my piston movements, because it gives a sort of real pow when the door opens, because everything finally comes out of the hallway at exactly the same time. It's just my trademark, I guess. Now, for the eagle-eyed among you, you may notice that down at the bottom here, I used, or this particular layout uses piston swapping to get it extra fast. And you're quite right. It's going to be difficult to show you, but just keep an eye on one of the pistons, I guess. So let's assume that this is the state of the door when the triple piston extender has fired. So this sticky piston was pushed up from on top of this piston. And of course that double piston extender fires, we can get that out of the way. And then this one retracts over, and then this one extends and retracts like so. So these two pistons completely swapped over. And this seems a little bit, unnecessary, but believe you me, it makes the layout super easy to wire because it pretty much reduces everything to just one-tick monostable circuits, which I have a lot of sticky piston monostables and things all around here. And now, in fact, I made a 2.2 second 5x5 circle a while back, like a few months ago, but it was absolutely huge, 1,365 blocks, and it actually didn't use piston swapping. I used a much more unique layout, but for that very reason, a much larger layout, because I don't know, I guess I wasn't smart enough that day to come up with a piston swapping layout. But if you just have a watch at the bottom here, it retracts back in the same direction as it came, so no piston swapping involved. However, for the new one, I managed to make the bottom layout only 3 blocks high because of the piston swapping. I'm using piston swapping a lot now. It's really, really helpful. Now, the last thing I want to mention is the glaring number of comparators in this build. And I talked about comparators 2 videos ago when I did the collaboration with Viscose, because comparators are so useful, so underrated. I've used them a bunch here. As you can see, there's a comparator here hooked up to the hopper timer to make sure the double piston extender retracts on time to sync the last piston movements. There's another one at the top here for the very same reason. There's one here to make sure that the regular piston, pulses. There's one here which is a perfect max speed double piston extender for this top circuit up here, this double piston extender. That uses a comparator 2. There's a comparator here for the part of the triple piston extender. There's comparators everywhere, and I'm never afraid to use them because, wow, they're super helpful and they can do things which no other component can do in the same volume. They really are the saving grace of this contraption, and without comparators, I probably would not have been able to make it this speed and this animation. Beautiful. So I don't think there's much more to be said on this door. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be leaving a world download just because, plagiarism is rife in this community and I don't really want to have this door stolen. Thank you very much. So no world download for this one. I hope you can get all the details you need from this video. Anyway, thank you so much for 200 subscribers once again. I hope it's the beginning of a very long road full of a huge amount of milestones. I cannot wait. I got some pretty exciting new ideas of content I want to make. We'll see how that turns out. I'm going to be pushing myself out of my comfort zone, particularly in terms of editing. But that's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and see you.